our biggest producer. It is our biggest cash flow producer. They did a little over 360,000 ounces last year, which was good for them. And as we're lining up for the coming year, they'll have another good year ahead of them.
Well, hello, welcome to Assay TV. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Gordon Stothert, who is the President and CEO of IAMGOLD. Gordon, great to see you, joining us today from Toronto.
Thank you very much, Leo. It's great to be here, and thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you. Well, it's your first year as CEO. You started as CEO, I think, on March 1st, 2020. Yeah. Quite a sort of interesting year to start. You know, how's it gone so far? I mean, you have three main producing assets, I believe. Yeah. Rosebel in Suriname. How's your production been in Rosebel?
You know, for production for 2020 last year, we did have some challenges with COVID. We started the year great, and we're going great guns. And actually, Suriname did quite well early on during the pandemic in managing themselves, but things sort of within the country took a bit of a turn sort of mid-year. And we ended up suspending our operation sort of mid-June through the end of July, which certainly impacted our production. Total production for the year was around 210,000 attributable ounces, which was within our guidance, but at the lower end of the guidance. And we were impacted sort of for the second half of the year. We did.
I mean, I think everyone's going to forgive you for being at the lower end of your guidance. I mean, the fact that you got within your guidance at all is a good thing. I mean, you're not alone amongst miners at having had some problems and having to adjust. But mining seems to be pretty resilient actually through this period and getting things together.
You know, that's a great comment, Leon. And certainly talking to my peers and other companies, but within the company, a lot of really hard work on just figuring out how to deal with what was going on, running camp operations in what we called island mode. So really restricting the movement in and out and focusing on what we could do. We did have to adapt the camps and add some rooms to reduce the density of people in camp. But the operating teams have been very resilient. The challenge for me in my first year is just not being able to go visit the sites.
Absolutely. You have the Essakane project in Burkina Faso as well. Yep. How's that gone over 2020?
You know, Essakane had a good year. It is our biggest producer. It is our biggest cash flow producer. They did a little over 360,000 ounces last year, which was good for them. And as we're lining up for the coming year, they'll have another good year ahead of them.
Fantastic. And finally, Westwood in Canada, I think that's in Quebec, a challenging year there because as well as the pandemic, you had some issues, I believe, with sort of some of the faults and seismic activity within the mine.
Yeah. Well, you know, at the end of the year, they ended up just under 80,000 ounces there, which was below the original guidance. As you mentioned, we did have about a 4 or 5 week shutdown with respect to COVID. The team did a great job of adapting to that and coming back. You know, managing an underground mine is a different venture when you're trying to deal with distancing and restrictions of that nature. The team did a good job. Unfortunately, at the end of October, we did have a major seismic event underground, and since that time, we've really pulled back the underground operations, sit back, and we're assessing what the source of the seismicity was and how we deal with it going forward. Thankfully for us, it was in an older part of the mine where it was basically mined out, so it didn't really impact reserves. But we do want to understand what happened and why it happened and what we can do going forward to manage that situation. Fortunately for us, we do have a small open pit operation that we've been able to sort of ramp up a little bit, continue to feed the mill, lower grade material, but we're producing gold.
Absolutely. And Westwood is your smaller of the three operations, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, as a proportion of our total business model, it's certainly the least relevant of the operations.
So overall, at the moment, you're producing about, I think it's about 650,000 ounces, but you have a sort of aim, I believe, to get to about 1 million ounces by 2024. Tell us a little bit about your development assets you have. You have the Côté Gold project under construction in Canada. At what stage is that at?
So we did announce the construction of Côté in July last year, and really got into starting to ramp up the camp in the second half of last year, and really started major earthworks, if you will, in January, which is well ahead of the original milestones we had in place. So operation is going well. We're on schedule to achieve production starting in the second half of 2023. Very good crew in place. Again, managing through the COVID issues for a construction project is a challenge, but it really will be transformational for the company.
Absolutely. And how many sort of ounces are you planning to produce there, and what are the resources and reserves?
So we own a 70% share. We have a 30% partner with Sumitomo Metal Mining. On a 100% basis, over the life of the mine, it's going to produce just under 400,000 ounces a year. For the first 5-6 years, though, it will be producing much closer to 500,000 ounces a year. Very good cost profile. It's a long life asset. Current reserves will take us out 18 years. So the current reserves on a 100% basis are around 7.2 million ounces. We do have a significant resource package. Resources, M&I resources are 10.2 million, and inferred resources are nearly 4 million. So in total, pretty close to 14 million ounces there. And then we have a development exploration resource, if you will, off the side. It's only about 1.5 kilometers away to the northeast, and our target for that is an additional 3 to 5 million ounces. We're looking to come out with some maiden resource on that satellite ore body here this year, and we're really excited for what it does. It really turns a great asset into an even bigger asset.
And in terms of your feasibility study, what sort of all-in sustaining costs were you expecting?
All-in sustaining in the early years, we average around, and it obviously it depends on price because there are some royalties involved there, but we're in around $700 an ounce for the first 5-6 years in all-in sustaining. So very attractive, delivers a lot of value to the bottom line for IAMGOLD.
Because those costs they're lower than what your other mines, the cost of your other mines at the moment. So that will bring down the average nicely.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, what we'd love to be able to do, and not just with Côté, but also with Boto and improvements of the existing operations, we'd really love to drive our costs down closer to the midpoint of the world cash cost curve, or preferably even into the second quartile. And we do see line of sight to be able to do that with these development projects we have in place.
You mentioned Boto in Senegal. What stage is that at?
So Boto is shovel ready. We've decided to stage our development project. So we didn't want to launch both construction projects simultaneously, so that we can focus on making sure that Côté gets executed properly. That being said, you know, when we went through 2019, the first half of 2020, we did a lot of work on de-risking Côté, and we're applying those same principles as we look at Boto. So we're trying to advance detail engineering. We're doing some of the infrastructure work to get it out of the way, so that when we launch the project, we have a very clear picture of what the total capital envelope is going to be, what the timelines are going to be, and really be able to hit the ground running. So that's the plan for Boto this year. We're building an access road, advancing detail engineering, and doing some work with some of the longer lead capital items, and make sure that with all of the I don't want to say explosion yet, but certainly a pickup in the number of mines that are being launched, we want to make sure that we're in the queue for the equipment we need to execute that project.
Absolutely. And in terms of how you're paying for all of this, all from internal cash flows, yeah?
We're fully funded to execute on our development profile. We at the end of the year, had about 950 million in available cash, closer to $1 billion when you add in restricted cash. And then we have a effectively undrawn $500 million credit facility that's available to us as well. So as we look at our projections, and we're using conservative projections going forward, but as we look at our cash flow over the next year, we can certainly manage this growth just from the balance sheet.
And in terms of exploration in 2021, where are you focusing that?
We always have a balanced exploration profile. So we look across the jurisdictions we're in. We're in West Africa. We're in the northern part of South America. And we're in North America. So we have a balanced spend there, but we also look to have balance between advanced projects. So the work we're doing around Côté on the Gosselin, which I mentioned earlier, the satellite deposit there. Boto itself has some additional deposits in the area, namely Karita and Diaka. We're sort of looking at that as a big complex we're calling Bambouk. So we'll be putting money into those sort of advanced areas. But at the same time, we do have some earlier stage projects. We announced a resource, I think at the end of 2019, for the Nelligan deposit in eastern Quebec, and the satellite deposit there called Monster Lake. We'll continue to be spending money there. And then we do have some greenfields development, although not a lot of money going into those. That's more generative work. But we really do look at exploration as a strategic pipeline event, and you need to have projects at all stages, and you need to be working in all the jurisdictions where you want to continue to have a presence.
Well, so lots in the pipeline. So in terms of sort of key milestones and goals for 2021, what should investors be looking out for from IAMGOLD?
Well, I think this year our objective is really to be boring, to be very focused on execution. Obviously, the future of the project of the company really is around successful execution of Côté. So we are spending a lot of time on that. When we announced in July last year, we came out with a series of milestones, and our expectation is to be able to tick those off as we go through the year. As I mentioned, we were able to initiate the major earthworks earlier than our initial schedule, so that's going well. And we want to be able to demonstrate that we're keeping a lid on the costs, and that we still have clear line of sight to the capital estimates we had in place. In the background, obviously, the existing operations are going to continue to produce gold. We're extremely happy with the gold price where it's at, and we really don't need a lot of noise out of those operations this year. They need to really execute well. We need to understand where we're going with Westwood, and what the longer term view of Westwood looks like. And we'll continue to talk about our exploration assets and demonstrate that the pipeline is full, and will continue to be developed going forward. So I think a lot of focus really on execution this year.
So knuckling down and working your way forward towards that goal of 1 million ounces in sort of 3 or 4 years' time. Well, that's a great look at IAMGOLD today. Thank you very much, Gordon, for joining us this evening on Assay TV.
Thank you very much, Leo. It's been great chatting with you.